Hey, what's up guys? It is Dom from C9. Today I'll be breaking down the Worlds patch, which is patch 10.19, and we're going to see what changes happen to some of the champions and any champions that we might see jumping into pro play with this more recent patch. Patch 10.19 notes, so 1019 notes says, "Hi, the World's patch is here, a new markswoman is here, you're here, it's a dang party." The world itself has been a little bit topsy-turvy, but there's nothing crazy here, we promise. This patch is focused on tidying things up for the championship, which means leveling the playing field so that not one figure is dwarfing the rest. Here's looking at you, Caitlyn. This also means we'll be giving a bit of a kick to some friends, kick them into gear and into competitive spotlight. These buffs are mostly geared towards marksmen, junglers, and mid laners in the hopes of mixing things up a tad in our biggest tournament of the year. And finally, a warm welcome to Samira, which is a new 80 carry champion who can slice and dice and blast it up in the bot lane. I mean, she's got an eye patch and everything. Okay. Ahri is the first champion that was buffed. The changes to Ahri in patch 10.18 were a little too cautious in terms of power, giving her some strength back by firing up her W to make it feel more satisfying. So the buff is to W Foxfire. They reduced the cooldown by 1 second in all ranks, and the mana cost is down to 40. So just generally like quality of life buffs and just direct buffs to the W ability, because that was one of the things that they nerfed when they did the changes to Ahri passive last patch. Akali got some nerfs here. Q base damage and AD ratio decrease. We've been seeing an increase in Akali's presence in pro since our buffs in 10.16. We're reverting our past changes, 10.16 and 10.12, on her to make this deadly assassin doesn't completely dominate the meta at Worlds. So just some Akali nerfs. They just reverted the nerfs that they gave her originally. Not huge. I don't think that this will completely change the champion that much. I think people just kind of stopped playing it, and then once they realized that it was still playable after the art changes, they started playing it again. So I still think we'll see Akali, just not as much of it. Here we have Aphelios buffs. So 200 years, I guess, was 2 week. Recently, base AD growth increased. Not a huge buff, but it does matter eventually throughout the game as you level up. So around like level 6, around level 7, you'll start feeling a little bit stronger in general with the champion. We are seeing an Azir nerf. The W bonus attack speed is decreased. This is mainly just going to affect Azir's strength in the lane phase, and I guess the scaling as well, but primarily early game before you have your Nashor's Tooth. This will be definitely noticeable early on. Triple soldier attack speed bonus is down 5%, and the bonus attack speed is down 5% on W as well. All right, Caitlyn nerfs. These are really basic nerfs. They decided to just lower the attack damage by 2 and attack speed growth by 0.5. One thing that people should know is that nerfs like this are actually pretty substantial. 2 attack damage throughout the entire game is going to end up being like thousands of damage, considering how many times you Q, how many times you auto attack throughout the game. So definitely good to see Caitlyn receiving some nerfs. She'll still see some play, but we probably just won't see it every single game. It might not be first pick, first ban evermore, or people will be more likely to give up Caitlyn and trade for Ashe or Jhin or something like that. The next change is Irelia. Irelia, R barrage and perimeter base damage increased later. So they increase just the damage of your R at max rank, and level 2. Level 6 will stay the same, so Aurelia's strength early game won't change much. And the perimeter base damage also went up as well. So 100 damage at max level if they end up hitting the perimeter, 50 at level 11. And the base damage on it is just increased by 25 at level 11 and level 16 by 50. So it could end up being 150 extra damage if you hit your R late game on a team fight. So maybe it will be noticeable in that perspective there. Ivern got a small buff to the E. Don't think this will end up bringing the champion into pro play. I know Broxton loves playing Ivern, but this might not be enough for him to actually see pro play. So E trigger seat, the slow was increased from 50 to 70. So small utility buffs to Ivern, but still gonna have the problem of being out damaged by all the other junglers that are present right now in pro play. All right, so Lucian base AD growth decreased. This is a nerf to Lucian's scaling, really, but not really that much in his early game. I still think that Lucian will be super powerful mid lane. We're gonna see a lot of it mid top. It will be able to completely abuse certain picks, and the buffs that they did to Lucian before, I think, are just more noticeable than whatever nerfs the limit attack damage growth will end up hurting Lucians. Okay, so Senna actually got pretty massively nerfed here. Mist Wraith drop chance on minion kills decreased. So now if you're farming with Senna, you are going to be getting essentially half the souls as you were getting before. Instead of getting souls once on minions once every 2 waves, you're going to be getting souls on minions once every 4 waves. That's actually a pretty substantial nerf. The good thing about this is that support Senna is not touched, so you still might see some support Senna in certain matchups. If the enemy team picks Yuumi, if the enemy team picks a Karma or something, Senna could definitely come out and play in those types of lanes. So don't think the champion is dead by any means, but AD Senna is definitely going to be a lot weaker. So Sivir's bonus MS increased. So when you auto attack, the bonus movement speed is increased by 5 at all ranks. So this is just quality of life for Sivir. I don't know if we'll suddenly see her in pro play. Still probably a ton of rough matchups for the Sivir. Maybe it can work into Ashe or Jhin, but into champions like Caitlyn, you're still going to get harassed in lane. And as we'll see later on, as you'll see later on, there are going to be champions that counter Sivir coming back into the meta. All right, so Sylas got a buff here as well. The R cooldown was decreased later on, so once you have CDR, it'll be really quick cooldown at max rank, so you'll be able to steal a lot of ultimates. Don't think that this will actually bring it back into the meta for jungle at all, but for mid lane, you might see more Sylas players because of the strength that you get from ultimate now. Also, a lot of regions already like playing a ton of Sylas. If you look at China, for example, they love this champion, so yeah, definitely think that that is something that we will definitely be seeing. Also, counterpick to things like Orin top. Definitely super viable. All right, the next champion that is nerfed is Twisted Fate. Base movement speed reduced. This is actually going to be pretty harmful for Twisted Fate. 5 movement speed is nothing to really scoff at. This type of change normally can bring champions in and out of the meta. So yeah, I could definitely see Lucian losing a lot, or Twisted Fate losing a lot of power in lane, especially with a lot of the champions that are there in mid lane to bully Twisted Fate. Champions like Lucian, champions like Zoe, champions like Orianna. All these types of champions have better lane phases than Twisted Fate, and if Twisted Fate is not able to play on the edges, if he's not as fast to dodge skill shots and things like that, could make it even harder for him. Udyr buffs. Tiger Stance tends to be the go-to for most Udyr players, so we're giving a bit more bite and burn to Phoenix Stance and its AoE damage playstyle. Now, I think that, Phoenix Stance and Udyr in general is just updated. Instead of buffing this champion, like the cone damage is nice, but instead of buffing this champion, what they really need to do is rework it. I think this champion is really dead in terms of just how it works in general. There's just a lot of issues with the kit and the fact that you can only auto attack. You just get kited by everyone. It just doesn't feel that great to play. The last change that we see here is Vayne. So Vayne gets some buffs coming into Worlds. Now, I don't know if we're actually going to see it in pro play. 10 bonus damage at level 6 is actually pretty nice. It could help with some all-ins or something like that. But in general, like, this champion's lane phase is the issue, and a lot of the champions that are being played right now have good lane phases. Things like Jhin, Ashe, Caitlyn all have really good lane phases, so I'm not sure if we'll be able to see any Vayne. Maybe you could see it into Ezreal, or maybe if Sivir comes back into the meta, some people could counterpick it with Vayne. But in terms of just the other champions that are really good in lane, I feel like Vayne will just struggle against them. So probably will be a rough time for Vayne at Worlds, but maybe we see it in very specific matchups. It looks like going into this patch, maybe they had Reckless in mind. They buffed his Sivir, they buffed his Vayne, 2 champions that Reckless likes playing a lot. So, maybe this will end up being a Reckless meta for Worlds. Hopefully I was able to help you guys understand this patch a little bit more. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like and subscribe, and thank you guys for watching.